Jim, I imagine that'll be a pleasing one to get through to the next round.
Yeah, when you're in a cup competition, we did really well in the group stages. We got a really tough draw against a really good side. You know, really pleased to be in the next round. Delighted for the players, delighted for the club. More importantly, delighted for the supporters. And you know, obviously in the next round, you know, everybody comes into it, and so you know, it's not like the seedy thing that it was, which I thought was a wee bit of a farce. But we overcame difficult opponents tonight, especially going a goal down at half time. But credit to the players, I thought the second half we were definitely the better team.
Absolutely. And does it feel like you got what you deserved for in the end through the shootout?
Well, I mean, you know, in the first half I wasn't happy with how we were playing and how we were pressing. You know, Edinburgh passed the ball really well, rotated really well, and you've got to be brave and get close to them. You know, I think we make a mistake. We're really unlucky with Martin's one that comes off the bar. We've hit the bar off the corner, but the conditions made it a really difficult night for both teams. We were forced into a wee change. I mean, they scored it's a great finish for the lad man who's a really good player. But the second half was about, you know, saying to the players what's important, getting closer to them, making sure that, you know, we play the conditions better than we'd played with the wind, and I thought we did that. And I thought in the second half we certainly deserved, you know, to get ourselves level. What an unbelievable hit through Martin. You know, I think that's better than his one that he scored a couple of weeks ago down at Dumbarton. But the penalty shootout, it's a lottery, you know, and you know, in those conditions, you know, the ball was blown off the spot. It wasn't easy for any of the players to hit the penalties, but we were just delighted to get the victory in the end.
An award for Martin Rennie, player of the month on Monday, scoring a goal like that on Tuesday. It's not a bad start for the week, is it?
Well, Martin's an experienced player, and you know, he does great for us, and the goals he's starting to accumulate is fantastic. You know, I knew that when we went after him in the summer. He's a, you know, a major part of what we are trying to build here and achieve here, and you know, the strike's just something that he's really got in his locker, and it's a special talent, that, and you know, to get player of the month, fully deserved, and you know, it caps off a good week for him.
You've got Edinburgh City again here in 10 days. Will there be lessons learned from tonight's match going into that one?
Well, I think it's a hard one, because being such a windy night, you know, and Edinburgh play a lovely passing game, and you know, they really do, and they're hard to play against. You know, we've got to be ready for that in a couple of weeks' time. We look at Annan first and foremost, but you know, we've got to be ready for that. Where, you know, our injuries are just mounting up. Lewis Martin felt his hamstring in the warm-up, decided to give it a go for the first half, but had to submit to the injury, and we had to make that change. We brought on young Jamie on the right hand side, and they put Gus in at right back. You know, I think Gus would play in goals if you asked him to play in goals as well. He's that type of player, and I thought he did well there. And young Jamie gives a real bit of energy, you know, in both flanks when he swapped over.
Just lastly then, was it important to bounce back from what must have been a very disappointing day on Saturday?
Well, it was. I mean, you know, we've went into 2 games there, you know, minus sort of 7 players almost, you know, and players that, you know, at least 5 of those players are starters in our team, and it's a really difficult one at the minute to try and put together. You know, we're juggling a wee bit to positions, we've juggled formations. You know, I was really disappointed we were starting Saturday, you know, the first 20 minutes and the first half overall, but it was a very similar tonight a wee bit, where, you know, it took us to the second half before we actually got going. But I was delighted that tonight we got a result. Saturday we just felt that, you know, when you see the chances that we did create in the second half against East Kilbride, if one of those goes in, it might change the impetus in the game. But unfortunately it didn't, and you know, they're a really good side. But it was it's been a really big ask to go into both of those games against both of those teams with a number of players we've got missing.
Just to finish up then, round of 16, anyone you've got your eye on?
Well, you know, you're just delighted to be in the next round. You know, we came through the group stages and done really well. You know, it was a really difficult game tonight, so we look forward to the draw on Thursday, and you know, I always like to get a home draw in any competition, you know, for our home supporters, but, you know, we'll take whatever comes out the heart.
Perfect, thank you very much.